Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, Bongbong Marcos and Sara Duterte are poised to win this year's elections as they continue to maintain a commanding lead in the unofficial tally. Amid the numbers, the Commission on Elections also affirms the dismissal of the Marcos disqualification cases. And what can Filipinos expect from a Marcos-Duterte administration? Bongbong Marcos' spokesperson, Attorney Vic Rodriguez, and Sara Duterte's spokesperson, Christina Frasco, join us live. Bongbong Marcos remains the frontrunner in the presidential race as a partial and unofficial tally of Monday's polls nears completion. Marcos's rival Vice President Leni Robredo encouraged her supporters to accept the final result of the elections. Speaking in her native tongue during a mass in Naga City, Robredo says the battle for good governance will not end in the polls.
Tuyang laban de inatapos sa eleksyon na ni. Kadakol si mga matang nabuksan, kadakol si mga buot na napukawan, ang laban mapadagos. Ending laban na niyo, bako lang laban na manggana sa eleksyon, pero laban para maging parte kita ka mas maray na paggugobernar, digdiyo sa satuyang lugar.
With the partial results in, more candidates are conceding defeat. Manny Pacquiao, Ping Lacson, Isko Moreno Caliotti de Guzman, and Faisal Mangundato have already accepted the election results.
The people have spoken. Tapos na ang halalan, kaya bigyan naman natin ng pagkakataon ang pagkakaisa para sa kapayapaan at kaunlaran ng ating bansa.
Sa ating pong kay President-elect Ferdinand Marcos Jr., I wish you all the best. Kami po, ako'y bilang isang ordinaryong mamamayan, pumanatag kayo na kami ay makikiisa at hindi makikisali sa anumang gulo.
While Bongbong Marcos is enjoying a comfortable lead in the initial vote tally, COMELEC has affirmed the dismissal of his 4 disqualification cases. The petitions revolved around his failure to file income tax returns when he was Ilocos Norte governor and vice governor. There are 2 more appeals that remain pending before the COMELEC and bank. Rex Remigio filed this report from the Marcos campaign headquarters in Mandaluyong.
What happened in the 2016 vice presidential elections has something to do with how they see things now. At the time, Marcos was leading by a small margin when suddenly Robredo overtook him in the race. Now, they have been insisting that they were cheated, which led to their poll protests that lasted for 5 years. Critics, meanwhile, have been pointing out to the Supreme Court junking his electoral protest. That's why the Marcos camp wants to be more sure this time. And they're urging their supporters to be more vigilant since the official canvassing of votes has yet to start.
Hindi pa tapos ang bilangan. Marami nang nagsasabi na tapos na, pero hindi pa talaga. Antayin natin hanggang talagang maliwanag na maliwanag, mag 100% ng pagbilang. Hanggat tayo ay mag-celebrate o mag-isip na tapos na.
The Marcos camp has yet to say where he is right now or what his plans are. Until now, we're just here outside of the campaign headquarters. The Marcos camp says there's no more press conference tonight. As you can see at my back, some supporters are staying beside the headquarters. This is beside the southbound lane of EDSA. Some supporters are urging motorists to show support by honking their horns. Others are dancing and singing songs related to the Marcos campaign, like the OPM classic Umagang Kay Ganda, which is often played right before Marcos speaks in campaign rallies, or Ang Bagong Lipunan, which is the anthem of the martial law era. We spoke to some supporters of BBM who went here. Some are loyalists since his father's regime. Others, meanwhile, were once anti-Marcos. One said she was enlightened through modern sources of information.
Sinabi naman ng mga professor ko, hindi naman totoo. Kasi wala naman nagpapatunayan na guilty si Marcos, di ba? Siyempre, nag-research ako sa YouTube.
Huwag niyo sasabihin na magnanako ang Marcos. Kasi ang Marcos maraming pera mula noon.
Critics have been pointing out there are court decisions that prove otherwise. The camp, meanwhile, also welcomes the COMELEC and Bank's decision to dismiss all motions for reconsideration on the disqualification cases against Marcos. Rodriguez says they always believe the poll body will stay true to its mandate. For the anti-BBM parties, there's no giving up yet until they exhaust all legal remedies.
And let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Vice Presidential candidate Sara Duterte's spokesperson, Mayor Christina Frasco. Mayor Frasco, welcome to the source. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me. Mayong buntag.
Mayong buntag. Vice Presidential candidate Sara Duterte garnering 31.5 million votes. Did she expect this high number of votes?
Well, she certainly worked very hard for it together with all of the campaign volunteers, all of the local political leaders, and all of our kababayans who came out in record numbers to support her candidacy and that of President-elect Bongbong Marcos.
When was the last time you spoke to her or communicated with her? And could you share us parts of that conversation in terms of her, garnering this many votes?
I communicate with Vice President-elect Sara Duterte regularly. And she is very, very happy with the results and the trust and confidence that's been reposed upon her by our fellow Filipinos. She's filled with gratitude for the outpouring of support given her by the Filipino people.
Nagpasalamat po siya sa naniwala at nagtiwala sa kanya. In fact, she was able to speak to the media after she voted in Davao City last May 9. Pero patuloy nga daw ang pagbabantay ng boto. While the proclamation, of course, of the winning presidential and vice presidential bets will be made by Congress sometime, they said either between May 24 to May 28. What are her plans for now?
Well, right now, she's on a Thanksgiving tour of sorts, no? She's flown to Manila to all of the support groups and volunteer groups, also in the Lakas headquarters, to express how grateful she is for all their help and the sacrifices that they've made in these past how many months. So the next few days will be devoted to her giving thanks to all of her supporters.
So bumalik na po siya ng Manila?
Yes.
Opo. And nagpapasalamat po siya doon sa mga tumulong sa kanya. When can we expect her to speak to the public in general again? Because the last time, as I mentioned, was when she cast her vote last May 9.
Recently, she has actually issued a statement of thanks to her supporters.
Opo, nakita ko din po yun. What would you say is, when you look at the numbers, you have more or less 31 million for both BBM and Sara Duterte. What would you say what's the strength of Team Unity?
Primarily, each of the candidates, both Vice President-elect Sara Duterte and President-elect Bongbong Marcos, have their own strengths, especially as far as their experience is concerned. And together, they make a formidable tandem whose principles and values are aligned as far as the prevailing desire for unity in our country. As a combined force, they have also rekindled a renewed sense of patriotism and love of country. Together, they have electrified the Filipino voting populace and inspired them to come out in record numbers to express not only their support for the unit team, but also importantly, their love for our country, giving it an opportunity to move forward and welcome a new era of prosperity and progress with both the president and the vice president working together hand in hand to help our fellow Filipinos in the road to recovery coming out of the pandemic and the various calamities that our country has experienced.
When we talk about unity, um, would there be efforts from the BBM, Sara Duterte team or camp to reach out to members of the opposition?
I'm speaking for Vice President-elect Sara Duterte, and as far as I know of her, she has always been a unifier, someone who has always subscribed to a type of governance that is inclusive, making sure that she is of service to all sectors of our society. And certainly the message has been one of unifying our country no matter our political differences and the positions that have so divided us in the past elections. So what I anticipate from Vice President-elect Sara is that she will govern in a manner that is not exclusionary to any sector and would welcome support for our government and support for our country, as that's really what all of us need right now to be able to move forward and progress as a nation.
What cabinet post do you think she would be most suited for her?
In the recent past, she has indicated a preference for the Department of National Defense.
Yeah, and that hasn't changed.
Not that I am aware. I do know as well that she is very well versed in local governance, having been mayor for several years, and very finely attuned to all the challenges that local government units face all over the country. As well, she's had vast experience in safeguarding the territorial integrity of Davao and ensuring that peace and order is always given paramount importance, it being one of the most important building blocks for progress. And we have seen that in her ability to uplift Davao's peace and order situation to the point where it is now one of the most competitive cities in the entire Philippines.
Where do you think, where would she be residing more? Magiging sa Manila ho ba? Kalahati sa Manila, kalahati sa Davao City. Is that something that you have discussed with her?
Not to very great detail. I do know that she's very much looking forward to fulfilling her role as vice president, and I'm very confident in her ability to be able to balance her obligations both in Davao and in Manila and the rest of the country. I also anticipate that Vice President-elect Sara, being a very hands-on public servant, that we'll really be seeing a lot of her visiting different areas of our country and speaking directly to the people and continuing to be attuned to their needs. She'll definitely be a very hardworking vice president in support of President-elect Bongbong Marcos' administration.
Mayor Christina Frasco, ma'am, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Daghang salamat.
Daghang salamat po sa inyo. We'll be taking a short break. Up next, we speak to Attorney Vic Rodriguez. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, Bongbong Marcos' spokesperson, Attorney Vic Rodriguez. Attorney Vic, welcome back to The Source. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Magandang umaga, Pinky. Thank you for having me in your program. And good morning to all the viewers watching right now.
Kayo ho ba nakapagpahinga na?
Kaunting pahinga lang, Pinky, sapagkat marami pa kaming ginagawa na may relasyon pa rin doon sa kagaganap lamang na halalan.
What are you doing right now? What's keeping the team busy?
Where we were monitoring and collating all the canvassing at the municipal and provincial levels. Inaantay din namin yung pagpasok at makolekta namin lahat nung mga election returns. But based on the transparency server of the Commission on Election, 98%, the last na nakita ko is 98% na ng mga election returns have been transmitted. So I can safely say that we now have President-elect Bongbong and Vice President-elect Sara Duterte.
Kasi nung nagsalita po ng huli si former Senator Bongbong Marcos, pinasalamatan po niya yung mga supporters. Pero sabi niya maghintay tayo until 100% votes are counted. Pero kayo po, as you mentioned a while ago, with that big a lead, you have no concerns anymore. Do you still have to wait for 100% of the votes?
No, that's why I have addressed him as President-elect Bongbong, and same with Vice President-elect Sara Duterte.
Opo.
At yung statement naman, yung ginawang pahayag ni President-elect Bongbong, that's just being him, full of humility, unassuming, at gusto lagi impunto, sakto. Kaya niya nabanggit yung antayin natin yung 100% transmission because he doesn't want to argue anything unto him, and he's not assuming anything yet then. But it's clear that based on the transparency server, based on the at least 98% of the election returns transmitted to the Commission on Election, ito na yung resulta, and I don't think the 2% remaining will alter or affect itong napakataas na boto pareho ni President-elect Bongbong at ni President-elect Inday.
Did you guys expect this high number of votes?
Pinky, we were hoping, just like all other candidates, to win. Do we expect this high number of votes? Slowly pumapasok sa aming damdamin na parang parami ng parami, palaki ng palaki yung crowd na sumasalubong sa amin kahit saan kami magpunta, at lalong tumitining yung tambalang Marcos-Duterte. Nakita naman yan in many, if not all, of the pre-election surveys. And as a journalist, Pinky, have covered many elections. Alam naman natin na ang tendency ng Pilipino ay maging ticket splitters. Pero nung nanawagan na at ang mensahe pagkakaisa, napakaraming tumugon at consistent yung Marcos-Duterte tandem na dala-dala ng mga preference ng sambayanan. Siguro nakita din nila na tama nga, kinakailangan magkasama, kinakailangan magsangga yung presidente at president. Dahil nag-aaway pagka hindi, Pinky, hindi ba?
I wanted to bring that in actually because when you look at the votes of presidential candidate BBM and vice presidential candidate Sara Duterte, hindi ho nagkakalayo. Kung if I'm not mistaken, we're looking at probably 500,000 difference compared to the other candidates na medyo malayo po yung nakuha ng presidente dun sa vice president. Very similar is what I'm saying. Halos hindi naman po eksakto obviously, pero halos magkatapat yung numbers ni BBM at ni Sara Duterte.
Sapagkat nakita nung tao yung kahalagahan ng sinasabi naming unity at pagkakaisa. And with all humility and objectivity, during the campaign, ang daming tandem na kung ano nung lumabas Yung Marcos Duterte lang ang consistent na ang aking vice-presidente ay si Sara Duterte. Pag tinanong mo naman si Vice President-elect, ang aking presidente walang iba kundi si Bongbong Marcos.
Okay.
So nadala yan hanggang doon sa prosinto.
I just want to ask you because sabi nyo nga you're still busy, inihintay nyo pa rin yung kinakalap niyo po yung mga boto, ano po. Do you have any concerns right now on on the conduct of the polls?
Meron pang mga dapat improve, and perhaps he will attend to it. President-elect Bongbong Marcos will definitely attend to it. Yung mga kaunting problema nitong nakaraang halalan, yung mga malfunctioning or non-working vote counting machines, yung hindi pagpapayag ng mga witnesses or watchers during the conduct of the printing of the ballots, at kami nga ay isa sa mga sumulat diyan sa Commission on Elections. So yun yung mga bagay na pagtutuunan niya ng pansin. But on the overall, the conduct of the elections, maayos naman, maliban doon sa ilang malfunctioning or non-working vote counting machines na agad namang natugunan ng COMELEC. Yung kanilang mga technician na troubleshoot. Kung may mga replacement VCMs naman, agad na napalitan. Kaya nga lang, ako na-experience ko rin mismo. I was in my precinct 6 in the morning, nakaboto ko 6:30 dahil madaming kondisyon, Pinky. Iba yung botohan sa ilalim ng pandemya, may spacing, hindi yung dati punta ka lang, pila, 60 kan. So yun ang mga dahilan kung bakit bumaba yung pila.
Let's talk about this question or issue being raised by netizens. I'm sure you've heard about this, sir. Yung sinasabing consistent 47% lead of BBM over Leni Robredo in the first hours of the votes coming in. What's your take on this? 47% consistent daw in the first, I guess, 3 hours, maybe 8 to 11 p.m.
Respetuhin na lang ho sana ng ilan yung naging desisyon ng higit sa mayorya ng Pilipino. Huwag na ho nating idiskredito yung isang halalan na naging malinis as what PRRD or President Duterte committed na under his term, bahagi ng kanyang legacy ang pagkakaroon natin ng isang clean, fair, honest, credible, and peaceful election. At yan naman ay nakuha natin ng huling halalan. Yung mga hindi nagwagi o hindi nagtagumpay, kami ho ay sumailalim sa pinakademokratikong proseso ng pagpili ng leader ng ating bansa. At yan ay ang pagkakaroon natin ng halalan. At sumagot ho, tumugon, ang higit sa mayorya ng Pilipino at ang kanilang napili ay si Bongbong Marcos at si Mayor Inday Sara Duterte. Patuloy namin thinking iaabot yung aming kamay ng pagkakaisa at yan ay consistent with the announcement made by President-elect Bongbong Marcos when he first announced his candidacy way back in October of 2021, October 5, if I am not mistaken. Ang sinabi niya, what he is offering is his unifying brand of leadership. Then and now, as we speak, we are offering our hand of unity. Iisang bansa po tayo, isang lahing Pilipino, bansang Pilipinas.
Yung sinasabi pong unifying brand of leadership, you have Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, Senator Manny Pacquiao, Senator Ping Lacson also conceding, and si Senator Pacquiao and si Isko Moreno also wishing BBM and Sara Duterte well. What is the camp's reaction to this, yung sa kanilang pag-concede, sir?
Kami ay nagpapasalamat sa pagkilala, kagaya ni Mayor Isko, sa pagkilala sa malinis at malinaw na pagkapanalo ni President-elect Bongbong Marcos. And for all others who have made, who conceded, nagpapasalamat kami sa ngalan ng sambayan ng Pilipino because it tends to diffuse the tense political situation. At ulitin ko, Pinky, nakita naman natin na naging maayos yung conduct ng halalan ng Monday. Atin pong respetuhin yung proseso. Si President-elect Bongbong Marcos ay sumailalim sa kampanya, masugid at paminsan-minsan mainit na kampanya. Sumailalim po si President-elect Bongbong Marcos sa halalan at ito po ang naging tugon ng higit sa mayorya ng sambayan ng Pilipino. Respetuhin po natin yung naging proseso, respetuhin po natin ang naging pasya at pahayag ng mahigit sa mayorya ng Pilipino.
Some are now curious on who the cabinet members will be. Are you at liberty to give us any names?
To be always fair and candid, Pinky, we have not spoken about it yet. because he has made it very clear to us in his team not to look beyond May 9. We have to complete the entire process of campaigning. We have to win the election, and which he did. He won last Monday, at kahapon ay napuno kami ng pag-asikaso doon sa pagkalap ng mga election returns at pagharap sa aming mga election day poll watchers. At ngayon pa lang kami, Pinky, ng hapon mag-uusap patungkol sa plano, patungkol sa hinaharap.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be quite regular or normal for somebody running for president to have people in mind, sir? Kahit na hindi pa po yan cast in stone, sigurado naman po na pag-uusapan sinong pwedeng mga miyembro ng kanyang gabinete.
Absolutely, Pinky. Meron siyang mga ibang pangalang nasa isip na. Subalit, yun talaga rin ang karakter ni Bongbong, ni President-elect Bongbong. Ayaw niyang pangunahan ang mga bagay-bagay. Whether people will believe me or not, ang malinaw na sabi niya, please cascade to everyone. Do not look beyond May 9.
Opo,
And
okay.
yun ang aming ginawa. So we will just be discussing things like this, including transition, who will compose the transition team, and so on and so forth, probably beginning this afternoon.
Sir, I have 1 minute left. What will your role be?
Even that, Pinky, hindi namin napapag-usapan. To be candid and honest as well, as always, hindi namin napapag-usapan. Hindi kami tumitingin sa beyond May 9. Yun lang ang aming focus, panalo yung halalan.
Pero sir, beyond May 9 na po. Okay, where is he? And when will he again address the public? Because the last time was May 9, nung gabing yun po.
Yeah, very, very soon he will be addressing the nation again. And early this afternoon, magpupulong na kami, at isa nga yan sa mga aming pag-uusapan, yung composition ng kanyang transition team. Sino more or less yung maikukonsidera na sa kanyang incoming administration, at yung kanyang magiging pahayag at address to the nation, kagaya ng nasabi mo, Pinky.
Sorry sir, isang pahabol lang. Who's going to lead the transition team?
Wala pa rin. Yun ang aming pakay ngayong hapon sa aming pagpupulong. At siguro bukas, more or less, or mamayang gabi, more or less, may idea na kaming lahat kung ano yung magiging composition ng President-elect Bongbong Marcos transition team.
Attorney Vic Rodriguez, sir, thank you so much for your time.
Maraming salamat, Pinky. Magandang umaga at mabuhay ang bansang Pilipinas.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.